Well, hello, and welcome back to Kind of a Bitch. I'm your host, Liz, and today I want to talk about something that I have seen all over the TikTokies, and it's been something I've been thinking about a lot recently in the world of manifesting the butterfly effect, lucky girl syndrome, and that is the science of getting lucky. Now, I personally believe that there is part science, part mindset, as well as a little bit of magic, because who doesn't love a little bit of magic? And today I want to dive a little deeper. But the reason I've been thinking about this is because recently, as I do my normal Tuesday afternoon scroll or whatever day it is, I've been seeing a lot of butterfly effect talk on TikTok. And I think what's kind of making me giggle is some of these butterfly effects are like, the butterfly effect is crazy because what do you mean if I hadn't gotten on the dating app, I wouldn't have found my soulmate? I'm using a very vague example. And not that that's bad. I am so excited for the folks who that you found your soulmate, right? But the butterfly effect is the idea that a seemingly insignificant action can create like a larger result. So I think the reason it's called the butterfly effect is because a butterfly flaps its wings and then it starts a tornado in another part of the country, right? And to me, when I go, you joined a dating app for the purpose of finding your soulmate. So you have purposefully put yourself in the position of receiving that. And again, we love. I'm obsessed with that for the folks where that's their butterfly effect. But today I kind of want to talk about the luck side of things, the science behind it. And I think about this a lot actually because last summer, it wasn't the butterfly effect, it was lucky girl syndrome. And it was the idea of walking into a space and assuming that good things would happen to you, right? Like it was the idea of attracting more luck. And the year before that, or a couple of years before that, it's probably still here as well, but more manifesting, right? What are we doing to manifest our wildest dreams? And now I want to break this down because I know a lot of people, a lot, who believe that they are lucky. And so they are. They say, "Yeah, I'm always the lucky one. My raffle number is always chosen," or "I always stumble upon people who want to buy XYZ product randomly," right? And that happens to be a product that I sell. And I look at that and I go, "Okay, there has to be some type of method, some type of something that I can pull from that." And same goes for the folks who just say, "Oh, this always happens to me," or this we can't seem to get a break, or I feel like everyone I'm always, this specific thing is happening to me. And I start to wonder, okay, what the heck is this? Like, what are some ways that I can maybe turn some stuff around, uh, so that I can invite more luck into my life? And so I did a little bit of research, and I hope you'll come with me on this journey. I want you to pull those people into your mind's eye. The people who are always stumbling upon their dream jobs. They're in the right place at the right time. They meet the right people, or they get these surprise windfalls, these surprise bits of luck. And I am finding through some of this research here that that kind of luck is not always luck. There's a little bit of a method to the magic. So I want to bust the myth a little bit. Luck isn't something you have or you don't have. It is something that you can, in some instances, create. And today, I want to walk through some of the research, some of the real life examples, and some juicy ways that we can start inviting more luck into our lives. Now, I also do want to add a caveat here. Of course, there are certain types of luck that you simply cannot manifest, right? It is being born into a specific kind of family, or with, crazy amounts of wealth or being born into privilege, right? Or there's certain things that, of course, that is not the type of luck that I am discussing here. I'm really more talking about inviting more opportunity into life in that way, that type of luck. So I want to start with the science. There is a British psychologist. His name is Dr. Richard Wiseman, unclear. And his whole focus is luck. He actually has a book called, I believe it is The Luck Factor. And it is all around the studies, the experiments, and the science behind luck. Bringing it back a few years, let's talk about superstition, kind of I don't know, a tool for luck, a tool for avoiding bad luck, perhaps. Superstition represents people's attempt to control good or bad luck. Since, again, it's often thought that a stroke of either good or bad luck can change your life. Luckily, studies that have been done on the validity of superstition, there's been a lot of holes. There's not a lot of clear results that can really give us an idea of the science behind superstitions and whether or not they work. But that still won't stop a lot of people from being superstitious. Now, I'm talking superstitions like smashing a glass mirror or opening an umbrella inside. For me personally, I'm thinking about saying the Scottish play's name inside of a theater or perhaps whistling inside of a theater. Those are just no-goes for the theater community, and the stories behind those will, I mean, truly, they'll freak you out. You will never whistle in a theater after you hear those stories. But even after hosting a ton of those experiments, like having people walk under ladders or smash mirrors or whatever, or even carry talismans for good luck or charms, right? To encourage more luck, there was seemingly no effect or repercussions for the folks that were doing or carrying those said lucky or unlucky items. Okay. So Weissman at some point decided that he would start to work directly with the people who consider themselves lucky or unlucky. In short, the people who seem to experience more lucky breaks or crazy encounters or other people who might experience disaster after disaster or just can't seem to get a break. And he spent decades studying this. I think he did over 400. There were over 400 participants in this that he was studying over decades. And his findings are that lucky people do things differently. Number one, they are skilled at creating and noticing chance opportunities. Number two, they make lucky decisions, quote unquote, lucky decisions by listening to their intuition. Number three, they create self fulfilling prophecies via positive expectations. And then number four, they adopt a resilient attitude that will oftentimes transform bad luck into good luck. In other words, luck is not just like lightning. It's more like gardening, right? You don't wait for lightning to strike. You kind of have to cultivate it, water it, plant the seeds, make sure the soil is good, and then take care of it for it to really blossom. What about the people who do feel perpetually unlucky? So, a lot of Weissman's research, it laid out a whole bunch of different reasons and characteristics, traits, activities, belief systems that people who consider themselves unlucky often have. Number one, they tend to have a fixed mindset. So they tend to be a little bit more fixed in their ways, doing the same things every day, not really changing up their routine very often. They tend to avoid new or uncertain situations. So avoiding discomfort, avoiding situations that they're unfamiliar with. They do tend to get caught in self fulfilling prophecies like, nothing ever works out for me, right? And this one I found particularly interesting. They are generally more tense and anxious than the people who consider themselves lucky. And the research shows that anxiety disrupts people's ability to notice the unexpected, right? Like they are so anxious that they are too focused on looking or potentially missing something. So they are so focused on looking for something or on avoiding something that they don't see what is all around them. And the anecdote that I found, or the experiment, not even an anecdote because it's for real, that I found very interesting in his studies was a newspaper study. So he had these two groups of people, the lucky people and the unlucky people. Again, these people are self-proclaimed. This is not like a society has decided that these people are called unlucky or unlucky, lucky or unlucky. These people have said, I am lucky or I am unlucky. So yeah, these two groups of people. He gave them a newspaper, like a big newspaper, and he told them, I want you to count how many photos there are in this newspaper. So the unlucky group was going through page by page, trying to count all of the photos, keeping tabs, really like going through, making sure they found all those photos. The lucky group, however, many of them found a higher percentage of the lucky group. On the second page of the newspaper, Weissman had written a line in some of the text that said, stop counting. There are 43 photos in this newspaper. And then on another page, like two pages later or 3 pages later, he said, stop counting. There are 43 photos in this newspaper. Tell the attendant that you found this line and you'll win $250. So the lucky people were open and more aware slash more they were noticing unexpected opportunities more often. They were less rigid. They were noticing those things more often. And the people who were unlucky would go through that entire thing desperate not to miss a photo. So they missed the other stuff that was happening. Ugh, I just think that is crazy. And so I think the kicker here is when you believe that you are unlucky, you stop looking for luck. You stop trying. And that guarantees that you're going to have unlucky results, or not lucky results, I guess you could say. It's not a character flaw, it is a pattern. And patterns, luckily, can be changed. So I want to talk now a little bit about the behaviors that can attract luck. What do these lucky people actually do then? Like, what exactly are they focusing on? Number one, they're staying curious. They follow their interests. They try new things, even when there's no clear outcome or reason. And I kind of love this because I am certainly somebody who I am curious, but I don't often follow my interests or kind of do things if there's not like a goal, right? And last year I started doing things just for enjoyment again. I took a trapeze class. I have started taking regular voice lessons just for fun. Yes, it was something I used to do professionally, but I just wanted to be back in a room with music and with something that made me feel good. And while I can't say that's necessarily opened me up to new opportunities, I do think it keeps my brain malleable, um, because I'm in a space where I'm just kind of learning and staying interested and staying curious. Number two, these lucky people will talk to strangers. They'll talk to strangers, and I think that's so basic. I think that is so basic, but I mean, I guess it's real. You never know where a conversation might actually lead. Now, this of course brings me down a rabbit hole of thinking about networking, and let me tell you what, I do not enjoy networking. I don't. I wish I did, but I do not. And I don't know, maybe it's because networking specifically feels like trying to sell yourself. Whereas talking to strangers could be something as simple as complimenting somebody who's standing behind you in line that you like their dress, right? So I don't know, maybe that's my note. Is it talking to strangers does not need to be with a purpose. Yeah, that's probably it. It doesn't need to be with a purpose. It's just being more open to talking to strangers, to making connections, right? Lucky people also share what they're working on because visibility invites opportunity. And I love this because there are two thoughts, two groups of thought here. Some folks really believe that when you're working on stuff, you should keep it private. You should keep it yours. You should not share. You should really keep the lid on tight so that you can focus and not get caught up. And I do believe that to a certain extent, especially if it's something that's still a baby seed, that's still a work in progress, so much so that you're not ready for outside influences or opinions, right? I think if that's the case, then yeah, maybe shield it for a little longer. But once you have something that you're excited about or that you're proud of it, that you're actually pursuing, like why not share what you're working on? Because you never know who doesn't know that they need you. Boop, Another one. Lucky people are taking action even when it's imperfect. And I love that. If you've listened to other episodes, you know that I've said action brings answers. It's not always perfect action. Sometimes it's completely separate action from what you actually need to take action on, I think. Sometimes I think that when you are so stuck, when you are so tied up in what am I supposed to do here? How do I make this decision? Stepping away from the decision altogether to go for a walk or go to a concert or meet up with friends for a dinner or whatever, taking action in any direction versus isolating and freezing and staying quiet. I don't know. You just don't know where that answer is going to come from. So taking some action will bring an answer, even if it's the answer that, oh, I need to actually take a totally different direction. You're going to find out sooner, the sooner you take action. You know what I'm saying? And then the last one, which is my personal favorite, is that they learn to reframe. They learn to reframe. This part is kind of mind blowing to me because I think about myself. Obviously, I read this stuff and I'm thinking, okay, how can I apply this and how can I make this work for me in my own life? And one of the studies that the Weissman had put in this it was an article about the book, but that he had done was they were talking about bronze medalists versus silver medalists. So in the Olympics, when people are training and training and training, and they're working to get that medal, a lot of people would assume that someone would be happier to get a silver medal than they would be to get a bronze medal. And what some of the research is saying is that, in fact, silver medalists tend to more likely be a little bummed, a little more like I just missed it, because they're thinking if I had worked a little bit harder, if I had taken one additional step at this point, if I hadn't turned my head to the left, I could have been XYZ faster or, more precise or whatever to have won the gold. Whereas the bronze medalists are thinking to themselves, wow, what a stroke of luck. If I had done that much worse, if I had done one other misstep, I could have not even been in the running for a medal. And so they tend to have more gratitude, more excitement about that medal than the silver because of this particular way of thinking. And the term that they used was counterfactual thinking, which I live. It's the idea that we can imagine like what something could have been, right? And they think that the bronze medalists, the people who are grateful, who are excited, are using counterfactual thinking to soften the emotional effect or the emotional impact of their unlucky or ill fortune, right? So I love that because I think to myself, all right, well, how can I use counterfactual thinking more often? How can I reframe what has happened into being something that's lucky, that is in my favor? It's kind of like that saying, it is things are not happening to you, they're happening for you. And I think there's a nugget there where you start thinking like, wow, if this hadn't happened, what would have happened? Like if this unlucky thing hadn't happened, like what other bad stuff could have been down the pike that I avoided? I think about that too, when I make a pitch for one of my corporate workshops, or when my clients bid on a house, especially a property that's been sitting for 3 days and now, or 3 days, for 3 weeks, and now suddenly has a lot of interest. We make a bid, and then we lose out, right? Ah, unlucky. What a stroke of unluck. Um, but then I think to myself, well, what if they had won that house and there would have been a foundation issue or something that was really bad? Or what if I had gotten that pitch, but then that client would have been an absolute bitch to work with, you know? And so perhaps, in fact, even though it doesn't feel great to quote unquote lose, maybe it's just pushed me in the right direction towards a thing that is right for me. It is a redirection, right? And I think what I am taking from all of these kind of notes about what a lucky people actually do, I'm thinking about this to myself, and something that I really believe in, and something that I coach folks on when they are starting off in business or when they are trying to get their brand up or whatever, is sharing, even if you don't feel quite ready to share your process. Because I think back to when I was a baby real estate agent, just a bebe, and I did not know what I was doing. I went on Instagram and I started talking about what I was learning, about what I was experiencing. I wasn't going on there and saying, I'm a dum dum, I know nothing, let me tell you what I'm learning. No, no. I would go on and say, I would regurgitate what I had just learned. And not only did it allow me to learn how to phrase things in ways that other people could really understand, so it was helpful for my career in general, but it also helped to cement the learning for me. And it meant that I had all these people who were watching my stories or following along in some other area of my life who went, "Oh, she's selling houses right now. I'm really enjoying like watching her process. I actually have to buy a house." And suddenly I was attracting more opportunities simply because people were learning that I could provide a service that they needed, and they wouldn't have known otherwise. Simply because I'm going on there and sharing my process before I was 100% great at it. Now, how do we create luck on purpose? What can we do to create more luck on purpose? And I'm like so happy when I start doing this kind of research and start writing this out. I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to write an entire new plan for myself so that I can start to pull more stuff in. Because I'll tell you what, I need this. If you are listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, damn, I actually need some of these right now, I'm feeling like I could use some luck, or maybe some manifesting, or I just want to attract more of X, Y, and Z. I am feeling that too, man. You have one of those seasons where you think to yourself, "Oh my god, like I really I want more. I know that I need to kind of attract more of what I want." And sometimes when you get caught up in the hubbub of social media and what everyone else is doing, you forget that there are actions you could be taking in your own life to pull this stuff towards you. So, let's talk about a few of the ways that we can create more luck. And I'm using a framework with the letters in luck. So we'll move through LUCK. Hopefully, it's something that you can stack and that we can all remember. I know I certainly will. Number one is L, look for it. So train your brain to notice chance opportunities. In TikTok world and Instagram world, these are called glimmers. All right. This is a glimmer. We are going about in our life and we are noticing, wow, that is so incredible. Wow, that is what a beautiful hummingbird. Wow, isn't that crazy that I happen to leave my house 1 minute earlier and the elevator was working. So I made it to my bus that was just barely leaving the station when I got there, right? There's so many different things that I think we can start to make connections for ourselves that remind us that good things really do happen. This is, I think this can also work against you, I will say. And I've been talking about this with my dad actually, because I think that as we get older, our stories about ourselves become a lot louder and they become a lot more cemented. And I remember my dad telling me something that he really believed about himself. And when he was telling me the example, when he was proving his theory to me, I was listening to it going, wow, what a story. What a story you are telling yourself. And the confirmation bias of it all, that's crazy. That's hard. Uh, and so I asked myself, all right, well, let's look for confirmation bias in the other direction. Let's look for confirmation bias that all of my clients love me and that everybody wants to work with me and that this stranger that I'm meeting for the first time likes me and that this random person who I've just sent a text to actually has a project for me that they would like me to work on. That this episode that I'm putting out now is going to result in somebody listening to it that plants a seed that says, I actually want her to come speak at my next event. Right. And cultivating more of that bias to confirm positive stories, to confirm lucky stories, will train our brains to pick out those pieces the more and the more that we build that muscle. Look for it. You use your voice, talk about your goals, talk about your ideas, um, eh, talk about your needs, right? Share what you're doing, share what you want, share what you're going after. If you don't share, nobody will know that they can give it to you. If you don't express your needs or your wants, people won't know that they can help you. And sometimes it's so easy. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "Hey, I really would like to hire a wedding planner for my wedding coming up next year. If you know of anyone," and suddenly you happen to have asked the right person who can text so and so, who can send you four awesome recommendations, and boom, your job is done. What a dream, right? And again, of course, that's just basic networking, but use your voice. C, connect. Connect, connect, connect. Meet new people, nurture relationships, and my personal favorite is give first. Something I tell my new agents who are new to the team, who are starting this process, something that is very a trap that I think is very easy to fall into in sales, is to ask for what you need only, to not worry so much about the connecting, to not worry so much about the relationship building. It is the asking for, hey, do you have anyone who wants to buy a house? Hey, like this constant kind of um, showering of asks. And I think that when we when we are putting our needs first in that way, and we are losing our curiosity, when we are avoiding our curiosity, we are sacrificing connection. When we are focusing on the connection side of it, focusing on the curiosity, on the giving, right? The other stuff will come. And you just don't know how that's happening. We've started hosting something in the last year, and we just try once a month to have people over to our home where we can let people meet. It's very casual and it's nothing super crazy, but it has it's just been such an awesome way for not only us to see some of our friends we don't get to see all the time, but for also for people to meet each other. And I know that if I can not only connect with other people, but I can connect others to each other, that has to come back to me at some point. And I really do believe that. And the last one is a K. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Action brings answers. Stay in motion. Action creates clarity. It creates chance. It is one of the things that if you are not taking action, how can you expect things to come to you? If you are staying stuck, how can you expect new things to come your way? If you are not doing anything different, this is my dad had a post-it. There was like one of those cheesy posters in our office growing up, and my dad had a post-it on it that had the saying, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And I really, really believe that. Keep it moving, stay in motion, take action, even if it is not perfect, even if it is not exactly what you think you should be doing. The more action you take, the more answers it will bring in one way or another. I think about these four letters, LUCK, look for it, use your voice, connect, And what was it? Keep moving. Oh my gosh. Uh, remember what you wrote, Elizabeth. I think to myself, wow, are there some areas that I can apply this either right now, or what are some ways that I can cement that these things do work for me? Like, how can I find those things in my life? And the one that I'm really thinking about is a client of mine. And a few years ago, I I honestly don't remember what was happening. I think at the beginning of the year, oh, I do remember. We had bought our house, and we were in the house, and honestly, it was really freaking expensive, and we were spending a ton of money getting the place fixed up, and I was feeling pressure, like super pressure. It was also, still kind of COVID times, and there was some job friction. There's so many things happening, and I remember feeling particularly down. And there was an opportunity to claim like a potential client in the chat. And I remember kind of being like, ugh, like, all right, fine, I'll claim one. I was so tired. I think I was working a lot. And nothing was happening. I wasn't really producing as much as I should. It was a lot of work for not a lot of action, or not a lot of follow through, I guess I should say, results. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll take one. I'll take one. So I took the lead. I get connected to the lead, and I get on the phone, and this person is could not be less excited to talk to me if they tried. And I just remember thinking to myself, ugh, like, all right, if this turns into nothing, who cares? At least I'll have a good conversation, right? Like, I kind of start going, especially when I'm in a rut. I start going, how can I have better conversations? How can I like connect with people? What are the things that I can do to really fill my own cup, to give gifts, to show gratitude, right, that make me feel good. And so I was like, all right, fine, I'm just gonna like try and have this good conversation. And we end up setting up some time to go and see a couple of homes. And this person had told me that they were a cash buyer. And I don't, if you are in the real estate industry, your ears kind of perk up in a potentially unlucky way when someone says they're a cash buyer, because it's kind of hard to prove that. And so sometimes, at least in my experience, sometimes people will say they're cash buyers when they actually do not have any money and they just want to see some homes. Again, not always, but it does happen, and it has happened. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take the chance. I'm going to show this person some homes. So when I showed up to the house, I get there. This person had brought a sibling of theirs, and I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? This is probably a bust. I can tell they don't want to talk to me, but they seem really nice, and I want to try and make a connection. So how am I going to kind of talk and just try and keep the conversation going? And if you know me, I can have a conversation with a wall, but I do tend to get very insecure when I can sense a wall up, or I can sense that maybe someone doesn't like me. I suddenly feel a lot of pressure. And so I just kept saying, you know what? Like, okay, Elizabeth, it does not matter if they don't like you. It doesn't matter if they don't end up buying a house with you. That's okay. Right? This is okay. Just keep being positive. Anyways, at some point I had noticed a tattoo on one of the people who was there, and I inquired about it because it was of a rodent. And if you know me, you know that, well, maybe you don't know. Maybe this is the fun little nugget for the podcast today. When I was a kid, I owned rats as pets, not for any other reason other than I thought they were really cute and I thought they were smart. They're basically cats with weird tails. All right. I knew a lot of facts about rats. I had two sets of them. My first set was my favorite, the two girls, Maggie and Ivy. I love them so much. I have a lot of knowledge about rats. All right. Weird kid. I don't know what to tell you. So I made this connection with this person. We got to talking about rats because they also owned rats as pets. Okay. Crazy. And when you meet another rat kid, the connection, come on. So we start chitty chatting. Turns out one sibling wants to purchase a house. The other one is like, I also would like to purchase a house. And it just so happens that they have recently come into some money. And not only do I get to help one and two, I also get to help their mom. And it turned into a really like a much bigger, not only do I still love these clients, I still work with these clients. I feel very honored that there is trust built there. But I just remember thinking to myself, it was like a Wednesday, in a random afternoon. I couldn't tell from the phone call whether or not I should take it, whether or not I should go show the house. When I got to the house, the vibes were such that, like, I'm a salesperson, so I just felt that kind of that wall up, and I thought to myself, I could really have just turned off. I could have not done the showing. I could have not noticed the tattoo. I could have not happened to have a relationship with the rodent that was the tattoo, so that I started talking about my own random specific pet as a child that then led to an actual relationship that led to a long-term relationship and something that really was very beneficial for my business, but also just I really like these people. And it was just such a lucky scenario that I think to myself, wow, I can't imagine what would have happened. I mean, I can, obviously, but I feel so lucky that I chose to take that random lead that day and trust that perhaps something good might have come from it, even if it wasn't buying a house, even if it was something as simple as a good conversation. Let's get into the mindset. All of us together, come with me because lucky people think differently after all, right? Number one, they assume that good things are possible. They assume that good things are possible. Now, I know this is hard, especially if you are in a string of unlucky stuff. If you're in a string of stuff that freaking sucks. They say everything comes in threes after all, right? So, if there are ways to assume that good things are possible, that is mindset shift number one. Maybe even assuming the good. That might be a good one. Assuming the good. Because it's very easy to assume that somebody hates you when in fact they're just shy. So assume positive intent, assume that good things are possible. Number two, they see rejection as redirection instead of failure, just like that bronze award winner, right? The bronze medalist. They think to themselves, "Wow, this is incredible. Like I might not have gotten the silver or gold medal, but this is I'm so lucky. I feel so grateful to have gotten the bronze, and now I feel excited and motivated to work harder. It's just a redirection. Now I know what I need to do." And I do have a podcast about failure, which I think this is a really great um, pin for that as well. Lucky people value improvisation over rigid planning. Now, I think there's a little bit of both to this, but I think in some ways you do have to have a plan. We do have to have some type of a thing that we're following, but maybe having some room for play, some room for, I don't know, expectation for no expectations, right? Being open to different things. I think that having opportunity to do things that are outside of your normal routine is wildly important, because again, the more you get stuck in those ways, the harder it is to get out. The longer you go down one path, the harder it is to turn back. Isn't that the saying? Someone correct me. And lastly, they don't wait for clarity. They take action and they let the clarity follow. Sometimes you just got to take the step to know what the direction is, to know what the next, it's just the next right step, right? Luck loves movement. Luck loves movement, luck loves energy, and luck especially loves a person who is brave enough to take that first step, even if they're not totally sure what direction it's going. We've reached the end of my luck thought today. I'm going to leave you with a question. What or where are you waiting for luck to find you? And I'm curious, how can you start to invite luck into your life in that arena? What's the area that you're currently waiting for luck to find you? And what is one thing you can do to start inviting luck into your life in that arena? For me personally, I think I have a few. I'll write them down for myself. I'm not going to share them here. But if you know me, you can send me a DM and maybe I'll share. And my action step, I mean, this is also for me. This week, I think we all need to do one small thing that opens a door, any door. It doesn't have to be a specific area. It doesn't have to be the area that you need changes, right? It can be just an area, something that is different. Open a door, any door. Don't have a secret expectation of what that door open will mean. Just open a door, take one action. Say yes to something unexpected. Post an idea or a thought that you've been sitting on or thinking about. Or maybe it's just something as simple as messaging someone that you admire, or someone who you want to know more about, or someone who you want to work with, right? I don't think that we need to overhaul our life. I don't think that we need to change literally everything. Find one small thing, start building that muscle, start building that muscle of noticing the glimmers, so that you can start seeing more good stuff, so you can be open to the opportunities. Luck is often, I love this phrase, luck is opportunity meets planning. Luck is opportunity meets planning. So you got to be able to not only be ready to take that opportunity when it comes, you got to be prepped, right? You got to know what your value is, or you got to be ready to take it. But the biggest part is you got to be able to see it. You got to be able to see it. And even that said, I will say I've had plenty of opportunities come my way that I didn't think I was totally ready for, but I knew it was an opportunity, and I knew I had to take it. It has happened with my speaking stuff. I've gotten opportunities to speak at certain things, and I say to myself, "Ugh, I actually don't have a product for that, but I have an idea. What if?" And then I've created a pitch. I've created a curriculum based off of the needs of that person. And now I have something that I can use for plenty of other people, for plenty of other corporations. And it's all because that little opportunity came my way, and I said, yeah, I'll freaking take it. Like I said, you do not need to overhaul your life. We just need to shake things up a little bit, because I think when we do, luck knows where to find you, and you'll be able to see it when it crosses your path. And honestly, I think I want to do a series on luck. I don't know. I think to myself, I have so many ideas. Sometimes I'm concerned that all the ideas in my brain will just, I won't be able to get them out before I die. So I don't know, put this on the list, but I would love to do a luck series, maybe where we dive deeper into how people can engineer their own serendipitous moments. I don't know, perhaps. Stay tuned. We'll see what I create. All of that said, thank you so much for listening wherever and whenever you are tuning in. My name is Liz Hake. This is Kind of a Bitch, and I will see you next time. Bye.